It's June, you set these goals way back in January and you haven't followed through with them. You might not have even looked at these goals since January, but there's a little itch, a little niggle in the back of your mind, which is around these goals, and it's kind of like a tiny voice that is getting a little bit louder. You're feeling frustrated because we're nearly halfway through the year and you feel like you just are nowhere near closer to this goal, and you have this vision for your life, but you just don't know how to put it into action. Life gets busy. Sometimes we can be putting the time into the gym and just feel like you're getting nowhere because we're repeating the same things that haven't worked previously. So it is time to change. This one thing changed my life in 3 months. In these 3 months, I have had my own episode on CNN around my running journey. I've ran my first ever marathon in sub 4 hours. I've worked with my dream brands. I've been featured in Women's Health. I hosted a fitness retreat in Mauritius. And most of all, I've managed to find my own flow with my fitness and nutrition and transform my mindset and also my body alongside that. This one thing has changed my life twice. Back in 2020, when I'd spent years trying to imitate what worked for everyone else, so focused on how other people ate, how other people worked out, I had rarely asked the question like, how do I actually want to train? And it was only when I decided to find my own flow and work out in a way that I could actually maintain and fitted my lifestyle and was something that I enjoyed, that I actually saw results. Then again in 2023, I feel like that year, last year, was just not an easy year for me in a lot of ways. I focused in the wrong areas. I felt quite out of control, really disconnected to myself, and I feel like my actions just weren't in alignment of the person that I wanted to be. I feel like I was very stressed, inflamed, and filled with a lot more negative thinking, and I feel like I dropped my tools that had helped me maintain my own balance. This period really reminded me of the importance of finding balance and focus to truly change and transform your mindset, how you show up, and you as a person. So that is why I've broken this one thing into 7 chapters, which I'll pop on the screen. First one is what drives you to become the best version of yourself. Second is, are you taking concrete steps towards your goals every day? Third one, are you overcomplicating your nutrition plan? Fourth, how can adding protein to every meal transform your health? Fifth, are you truly aware of what and how you eat? Sixth, what performance goals will push you to new heights? Seventh, how can meditation and journaling reshape your mind and life? Let's get straight into it. Okay, step 1 is getting clear on your why. This is the first place to start because it's the most powerful part of this process. I want you to think about this. Why do you want to be fit? Why do you want a big bum? What is it actually for? What do you think this is going to bring? I feel like I went through a stage years ago. I put on loads of muscle and I got this, I used to have like a real pancake booty, and I got this juicy glutes, and what came with that was like I wasn't very fit. I wasn't doing any cardio and I didn't feel good in my body. I didn't feel like I set that goal for me. It was more like for external validation to attract a certain type of guy because I thought that's what he wanted. Whereas it took me years to realize, what is my why? This is what has changed my life this year, because I've realized my why is to feel my strongest in every way, to feel my fittest, to be able to be out my comfort zone and to learn more about my body, to be able to help women become their happiest, healthiest and fittest self. I wanted to be in my peak physical fitness, and this is what has really enabled me to get clarity on my goals. And when you're in alignment with yourself, as in you're showing up, it's not easy, by the way. I'm not wanting to make out like this is just something that you just wake up, poof, everything just is where it needs to be. It really takes work. It still feels uncomfortable now. Like I feel like I'm on my path and I feel in alignment, and it's hard every day I have to show up and it is difficult, but I feel like I'm in a state of flow and I'm not chasing, I'm actioning, and things are coming to me because I'm aligning my intentions with my actions, and my values are all encompassing. And this was when I started seeing opportunities as well, because I was aligning myself and putting in the work, putting in the action, brands reaching out, people reaching out. I haven't done any outreach this year, for example, and this has come to me. Define the habits of the person you want to become. So you've got this vision, and sometimes it can feel really confusing because you're like, wait, I don't even know what I'm doing next week, never mind in 5 years. Like sometimes when I get asked that question, what's your 5-year plan? I always think, Jesus Christ, like I have no idea my 5-year plan. I've got a vision in my mind and this is what I want you to tap into. Don't feel overwhelmed with that question. So what you want to do is look at, what does this person that you have got in your mind, I know you have, what time does she wake up? What time does she go to bed? What does she spend her days doing? Is she sat at a desk? Is she quite free? Does she work some hours and then she goes to the gym in an evening, or does she go to the gym in the morning? What is your dream day? Reverse engineer it that way, and that gives you such a clear understanding of what the person you want to become, what she looks like, what she dresses like, and you need to start showing up with those habits. For me, one of mine was I wanted to be in peak physical condition. I wanted to feel good. I wanted to feel confident. I wanted to look good. So I had to reverse engineer a few things that I weren't doing. For example, I was constantly setting my alarm for years at 6 a.m. I'd either snooze it, I would be so tired. Like I'd get myself up sometimes even before 6, but I'd be really tired throughout the day and I'd be so unproductive. Even though I'd be up at 5 a.m, I'd be kind of like snoozing or like just in the middle of the day feeling so flat and uninspired. And it was because I was going to bed so late at like midnight, for example. Whereas one change that I made from reverse engineering my why was setting myself a bedtime. So I want you to do this before you set yourself a morning alarm. What time are you going to bed? For me, I knew I needed to be in bed for 10 o'clock. So that meant I had to sort my evening routine out. Your morning routine starts the night before. This is the biggest thing that I don't see spoken about because we all go on about our flipping morning routine so much. But what's your evening routine? If you're expecting yourself to finish work at 9 o'clock to then fall asleep by 10 o'clock, when are you going to eat your dinner? When are you going to actually just like relax your brain? You've been probably overstimulated all day long and you're just expecting yourself to fall asleep like that. We just need to break that down, and making sure your friends also have similar values. Of course, we can all be different, but if you're trying to evolve, you're working on your career and you don't want to be putting yourself in toxic environments. Like a few years ago, I went through my real party girl era and I had the best time, but I was around a lot of toxic people. One example was I went on a night out and one of my friends stayed at my house and stole from me, like stole some of my makeup. And it was at that point I realized, who have I got around me? When I look back, like I was in scenarios where I don't feel like I was aligned, like our values weren't aligned. Like for one, I would never steal a thing in my life. I also don't want to be in toxic environments, like around, say, drugs, for example. Like if you're focused on your career and you're trying to get places, but you're around people who are doing things that you just don't want to be around. Like obviously there's drugs everywhere, but you don't want to be in scenarios where you have got friends that are cheating on their girlfriend, boyfriend. You don't want to start normalizing things that don't align with your values, because who you are around, you become. So obviously if someone's toxic, cut them off. But if, say, it's just you and your friendship group, you feel like you're kind of growing apart, as in maybe you've got into your fitness, whereas like they're not that fitnessy, that's fine. But can you do different things with them? As in, could you go for a coffee and a walk? Could you maybe try Pilates class together? Just changing the environment where you would normally like do things with these friends. Rather than a night out, could you go for brunch? And I think you quickly answer your own questions. Like if you can't do anything else other than like nightclub or drinks and everything revolving around alcohol, like is this person really someone you want to be in your life in the long term? As well, are these people inspiring you or are they draining you? Do you feel like you're your best version of yourself around these people? Once you start having this awareness and just thinking about it, honestly, it changes everything. By the way, I'll show you how to do this in step-by-step calls with me and other girls so you can be accountable and also get my training and nutrition plans in one membership. I have a few spots left for the launch week, so don't miss out. It's in the top line of this video's description. The second step is actioning your intentions. This is sometimes the hardest thing. Like the easiest part is to get excited about your goals, and it's the same with like a vision board. You're like, wow, I'm full of inspiration. I can see my life like this, but how the hell do I get from A to Z? Like this bit in between is the hard bit, and it takes discipline. It's always best starting with the bare minimum. I promise you this is going to get you way further than setting these unrealistic goals that you just can't maintain. Something is always going to be better than nothing, and I feel like that's where a lot of people can struggle. It's this like, I'm all in, I'm going hell for leather in the gym, I have no social life, I am just focused on the gym. Or it's the opposite of like, oh no, I'm just sitting and watching Netflix tonight, couldn't even think about doing a workout after work, like just my brain and body, no, it's a no from me. And then you order the takeaways and it just compounds that way. Whereas we need this middle ground, somewhere where we've got a bit of both. We've got some chill out time, we've got a good nutrition system going on, it's more in balance. So setting clear, achievable goals. One could be, I will run 3 times for 30 minutes this next month, and scheduling those days in, even booking it in with a friend or booking a fitness class 3 times for a month, because you know you have got skin in the game, you've made a booking, you've parted with some money, so it's clear and achievable, rather than just leaving it open like, oh, this week I might go on a run. You probably already know what SMART goals are, but make sure it's specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound, and that it aligns with your why. Create a daily schedule. There isn't a flipping to-do list. I write a to-do list every day, but what I've started doing is putting how long it takes at the side. So a few months ago, I made this to-do list with 12 things on, right? And I got to the end of the day and I just felt like, oh my God, what's wrong with me? Like, why can't I achieve these things? And I broke down the time that it would have taken me to achieve those 12 things that didn't have any time limits on because it was just on a list, okay? It totaled to 15.5 hours. Like what? Like that is setting yourself up to fail and also setting yourself up to lose so much confidence. So I really challenge you to go through your to-do list and put times and make sure in that to-do list you've got time for relaxation, time to eat, time to drive to and from wherever it is you're going. Start small. So with your healthier eating, you're wanting to eat better. Start with a small step, like adding in more vegetables, more fiber to your diet. That's one small thing will really make a difference before you think about taking things away. Like what can you add in that you're currently not doing? Step number 3, which will save you so much faff and overwhelm in your brain, is to simplify your meals. If you're someone who just prefers to have your 3 favorite meals that you can have on rotation, you can mix up the seasonings and spice, you do it on autopilot, and when life gets busy, you've got your staple meals that have got your mix of protein, carbs and fat and a super balance. That is going to save you so much time and so much faff. You really don't need to be trying out a fancy new recipe every single night that you don't have the ingredients for, or adding stress and feeling like you've got to spend loads and loads of time in the kitchen. Like you can save those meals for when you've got friends over and when you have more time. Another really helpful thing is to schedule in your food shop. So each week it comes on a set day. You've got all your staples in there. You can obviously update your trolley when you need, and when you do it in advance, it costs between like £2 to £4 for that delivery. Now you think you're driving to and from the supermarket, that's sometimes half an hour, you're in the supermarket like 40 minutes, sometimes less, sometimes more. It not only just saves time, but you know what you've got in the fridge and you've got your staples for each week. It just makes things a lot easier, and you can actually maintain what meals you're having, so you kind of know what protein sources. This saves a lot on decision making and over prepping, and also ending up having loads of food waste. 4th step is to have protein with every meal. This changes everything because you can apply it pretty much everywhere. So next time you go to a drive-through, when you've got that at the forefront of your mind, it just changes your energy levels because you're actually so much fuller for longer. Protein helps with your satiety, maintaining muscle mass, and the more muscle mass you have, the more calories and energy you burn at a rest, and the more satisfied and full you are equals 1% better decisions. This has been something that has not only changed my physique, but just how I feel on a whole. I'm not endlessly kind of snacking because I feel fuller, and you can apply it wherever you go. So if you're stopping at a mini supermarket, if you're stopping at a petrol station, you can just usually get things like eggs and thinking of like, oh, what protein source is in this? 5th step is practicing mindful eating versus mindless eating. So this was a real big one for me because I used to really, I don't know where it even started. I think I've done it for a real long time, or I did do it for a really long time. I would basically like make my meals, when I think back, probably came from over restriction. So I'd be really hungry when I was making my meals. So I'd be kind of like making my meal, but picking away at it. Friends and family even noticed it as well because I'd over restrict in the day, and then I'd be so hungry. So I'd be making my food, but eating it like as I'm cooking it, even if it was a bit raw, not things like chicken, but things like sweet potatoes, I'd be bloody having like, or whatever. And that came from mindless eating. So the amount of times that I would sit down with, say, Mason or a friend, their plate would be full and mine would be pretty much eaten just as I'd been cooking it. I didn't even realize it got into such a habit that I was never really sitting with my food. I was just kind of like picking, and it didn't really help with my fitness goals because I didn't know what I was even eating, or just kind of overeating that way as well. It wasn't very nice as well because I'd sit down and my plate would be pretty much empty before it had even made it to the table. The other thing as well is eating without distractions. So rather than sitting on your phone, obviously we all do it from time to time. I'm not sitting here saying I don't ever watch TV when I eat food. Like I love to sit on this sofa and watch a movie, but just making sure that I do spend time at a table where I sit and eat in a way that isn't so rushed and I'm like cramming food in, but actually just being mindful and being able to tune in then to when I'm actually full. I used to really kind of overeat, and I never used to feel like, oh, I'm full now with certain stuff. And I think if you're wanting to practice more intuitive eating, this is skill that takes work, and some people make out like intuitive eating, like I hear it flung around really loosely, but it is something that's quite hard, especially if you've come from a very restrictive mindset around food and you have tracked for years, or you've had like a funny relationship with food. So it is something that takes time. So that's why I always think it's good to sit undistracted, so not on your phone eating, and just taking your time chewing your food, making sure when you have got your plates, you've got protein, say a complex carb, and some good healthy fats, and being mindful of that, and also some color in there on your plate, and this will really build your awareness and your hunger around food. Sixth step is setting a performance goal. Now, you've probably heard this term before, but I really mean like actually setting a performance goal, rather than just kind of, maybe you've got in your head, oh, I want to lift heavier, but you never get specific with how much heavier. You tell me, how much heavier do you want to lift and why? Or how many more reps can you do next week? Are you even taking any account into your reps? You might be dedicating 5, maybe 6 days a week to your gym sessions, but you're not tracking anything. You've lifted the same 10 kg dumbbells, or you've hip thrusted the same 60 kg for maybe the past 3 years, and you're wanting change. Why not actually start tracking and having that accountability so that you can change? I don't want to sound too harsh here, but sometimes we all need a bit of the harsh truths. I'm here to help you, and I want the best for you as well. And I want to remind you that you are so flipping capable as well. All you've got to do sometimes, it just takes a few action steps to get out of your own way, and it literally unlocks. It is as simple as that. It's like you've got the key, and I know you've got the key. All you need to do is turn it that way and believe in yourself, and we're rolling, baby. On the performance goal, my training for a marathon changed my life. And I feel like anyone who trains for a marathon, I guess that whole analogy of like marathons, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon, where it comes from, I totally understand. It taught me so much because it was so out my comfort zone, as in I didn't really run like that. And the training distances were so high. There was so much running on my own, just in my own thoughts for like 3-4 hours, and taught me a lot about sacrifice as well. I feel like I had to be really disciplined with that, and it was really uncomfortable. So that kind of performance goal just taught me so much about my body as well, and about my limits. I pushed myself places that I'd never pushed before, which is why I think it's always amazing to have clear performance goals. It doesn't need to be running a marathon, but it could be getting your strength to being able to lift your body weight or double your body weight if you really wanted to, and having these clear goals of being able to get fitter, being able to get up a flight of stairs, just be able to do things with people who maybe you haven't been able to before. And if you're anything like me, I really thrive with structure, which isn't something that I've always created for myself. You're not reliant on motivation because you have a clear vision, which is why I think it's so useful to follow a program. I have programs for you as well in the Flowness Club that is launching soon, and you're going to be able to learn how to properly structure your workouts and train for your body and for your goals as well. And it's going to be tailored to you and your goal that you have in mind, which is super important, because there's no point training for a goal that's not even on your outlook or isn't even aligned with you. And having a clear focus, you're not reliant on motivation, because we all know motivation comes and goes, and that is why we end up procrastinating, because it's one of those things that you just can't rely on. You need to have discipline. Seventh step is practicing meditation and journaling daily. This is something I'm doing as part of a 100-day challenge. I'm on day 9 now. I cannot even put into words how meditation, like twice when I've had pivotal moments, it's always around when I'm practicing some form of meditation. You can do this at any time of the day. It doesn't need to be a specific time, and I literally do it for 10 minutes, a guided meditation for 10 minutes. You think how much time you spend probably sat on your phone, scrolling away, watching stuff that doesn't really add to your life. Like, we all have 10 minutes for ourselves and for our mind, and I can't tell you how much time meditation has given me back, because it puts everything into perspective. I'm the sort of person, and you probably are as well, if you're watching this far in the video, like we have a lot of thoughts, a lot of things going on, and sometimes it's really hard to quieten that noise, and you feel overwhelmed and stressy, and like you just don't have enough time in the day to get everything done, to bloody sleep, to see your friend, to be a good sister, a good wife, a good girlfriend, all of those things. I totally get it. And meditation reminds me, like, the feeling is like you're driving down a motorway, you've got all your windows down, it is so noisy, and you're like, ah. When you meditate, it's like you've like clicked all the windows and your windows are coming up and you're on the motorway and it's quiet. That is kind of what it does for your thoughts over time. And meditation is scientifically backed. It's exactly like lifting weights for your attention span. The more you do it, the more you increase your strength and endurance of your attention span. Combined, they really help you to create this awareness around your thoughts. There's always a reason why you're feeling, say, overwhelmed, but because you're so in your head and you haven't written down anything on paper, you don't really know the reasons reasons why, or like you just like everything's just noisy, you're rushing all the time, you're feeling like you've just been in the same position or the same day in, day out, because you're not spending time with yourself and connecting to yourself. Like so many of us are so disconnected from our bodies because we're too busy elsewhere that we never take the time to just sit in stillness and with our thoughts. Like we're always distracting ourselves, always got a podcast on, always got YouTube or social media, that we never sit with our own thoughts. Stress is another reason why we don't see physical results. Sometimes we can hold on to excess fat because we're in that fight or flight state and our cortisol levels are through the roof. So managing our stress, obviously reducing maybe our workload, and then looking at how can I increase my sleep? What are the stresses in my life? There was actually a review of 14 studies that found mindfulness meditation helped participants to reduce emotional and binge eating and can really help you with controlling food cravings. The reason why I do journaling and meditation together is because it's quite an easy habit stack. I spend 10 minutes meditating, 5 minutes doing some journal prompts. One of them's around gratitude, which is just the most powerful emotion and something we should all be tapping into on a daily. Like sometimes we can just be way too focused on what we don't have or where we're not, whereas we should always be focused on way more on what we do already have. That way we can actually allow stuff to come in, whereas if we're always on this like what we don't have, what we're lacking, what we used to have, like it's really hard because all your thoughts are in this negative state, and we all know like negative thoughts only breed more. Simply putting everything onto paper is so therapeutic in itself, just getting everything out of your head. All of this will be with actionable steps in the Flowness Club, which is launching soon. I do have a few spots left. They are limited, so make sure you secure your spot at flowness.club. It's also in the top line of this description. But I really hope this video has been useful to you, and I can't wait to see you change your life and get out of your own way and out of your own head and into action. You are so capable of everything that you've got in your mind, in your vision. All you have to do is set your intention, be really clear on your why, and break it down into these small actionable steps. I promise you these 7 steps will change your outlook and how you show up as a person and enable you to get into being the very best version of yourself, not anyone else, the very best version of you. I can't wait to hear how you get on with these steps. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you, and I also want you to just give yourself a little bit more appreciation and kindness because you're choosing to show up for yourself. You've made it this far in the video and you're dedicated already to changing your life and becoming the very best version of yourself. Can't wait to see you in the next video. Lots and lots of love.